What is good, everyone? This is James, the Ghost Set Killer with Put 'em on the Glass podcast, and today's guest is.
Dylan Mosket.
Oh shit! You are okay. So let's before I get to boasting too much about you, because I got some stories to lay down for some people here. But let's talk about your experience in auto glass. What you got? What you got? How long you been in?
Automotive glass, so it's probably gonna take a second. I don't know how long it's gonna be, but
Yeah.
let's see, what was it August 28th, 2005? Hurricane Katrina hit. We got displaced back then, and then we ended up in a trailer park. My stepdad was a cop at some point in time in his career, and then after that, we were able to come back into the city. We had no place to live, so we ended up in these big little trailers, double wide trailers for all the cops and things like that. Well, next door to us was a good friend from my brother. One of his best friends was Devin, and his best friend was actually named Royce. And their mother and father, if I'm not mistaken, at that time owned Accurate Auto Glass, which is still around. This I could be off though. I don't know if they actually owned Accurate at the time or if they were still working for Central, the cousin of brother. But that's basically how it started off from then. So my brother Kyle was actually the first person to go. They were both in the military together, and so when they were on, or when they came back from deployment, they would actually come back, and then they would do auto blast together, and then they go back on deployments again, and that's basically kind of like how I got my foot into the door at that moment in time. But back then, I was actually doing film set work. I traveled across the country and did a lot of film and things like that. So when I was on hiatus, I would come back over here, and then that's basically how I got into the auto glass industry, personally. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, that 2005, you do not look old enough to be talking about putting in glass in 2005, because I started in '03 and I'm over here looking like motherfucking Santa Claus. You're looking so baby faced, man. It's like, man, really? That long? Like,
Yeah.
I was expecting you to say, like, oh, man, like 2017, 2015, Oh, man, you've been through all of this changes with us, man. All of these
And
changes.
well, to be honest with you, I didn't really keep up too much with the auto glass industry at that point in time because I really was just like foot in the door, just kind of get grasping the concepts and things like that. Because when I would come off of hiatus, it would only be like, sometimes a week, sometimes 2 weeks, and then I'll be back off 6 months, 8 months, and then we'll be back in again and things like that. So, like, I kind of knew how to do auto glass, but not in the technical terms of where we are these days.
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't really know like all the back ends and Sullivan pops and things like that. I was just a general, hey, help my brother install the glass. I first started off in the beginning, just, $20 a glass, cleaning the glass. And that's how I started. My brother wanted to teach me the ways that he was taught the old school way. And the best way to do that was just do that through progression. So, the first month, all I did was clean all the glass and understood how to like decontaminate and things like that. And then, then we'll move into the next months and, as we started elevating there. But yeah, that's basically how that started.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I like the progression because a lot of us old heads didn't have the progression. So kudos to your
Yeah.
brother for, walking you through the process to make you understand what was going on. Because, it was like, here's
Uh,
a couple days riding with a guy, here's 8 jobs, go get them done. Don't worry about the rest of it. So, but
yep.
you own your own shop, correct?
All right. So this is how it went.
I,
I currently do own my shop,
yeah.
but so in between hiatus and things like that, I did music production for a living as well. So when I wasn't doing auto glass, I would do film set work. I would come back, and then in the daytime when I was on hiatus, I would do automotive glass, and then at night I owned the studio, and we did music production and audio engineering and things like that. So that's really what my background was. Well, December 19th, 2000, wait, no, December 24th, 2019, Christmas Eve, I had a studio in sixth floor of a building out here in New Orleans, and my brother went outside to go smoke a cigarette and fell off that roof.
Oh,
And so that's how I ended up transitioning again from just a technical standpoint to just taking over the whole company and elevating it to where it was right there. It really was a freak accident. And I never, we never really thought that I would own the company. And that really wasn't in my plans. I had a different strategy in life and doing, music production and things like that. But, I ended up just at a quick of a moment, a quick decision at that night, I was like, all right, well, I keep pursuing music and that would only last a few years, which I was I was close. I was very close. I was about to be in the cover of XXL magazine, doing music production, Kevin Gates and things like that. But then I ended up just like putting that on hold and told myself I can always come back to that at some point in time and later on in life. Well, once I took the company over, a background about me is when Hurricane Katrina hit, I think I was like 15 at the time. So I didn't go back to school after that. By the time I came back into and we all got settled everything back in, there was no placement test for kids like me. So it was either get your GED and drop out or just like wait around and try to see if you can do it. Well, by the time they actually implemented the placement test, I was too old. I think I was 17 at the time now. So I had to drop out the school. That was the recommendation from the board. So I ended up just dropping out. Did I get my GED? No, because I already had film set experience. So I was good at film. So that's basically at that point in moment in life, like we fast forward now, I juggle both of those things. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to go back and do music. This is going to be a quick thing. But then when I realized that I was a seventh grade dropout with no business experience, but my brother was the face of the company and all I did was install, learning from him was a lot because not only did I learn how to install glass, I understood what the qualities were and the traits were to, sell yourself as a business owner. So as I progressed into that and decided, I was like, all right, we'll just take over the company. I'll build this company and I'll walk away from it. Well, it's not as easy as what we think it is. It's not as easy as like going from a technical standpoint. I mean, a technician standpoint. And this is one of the things I want to knock home for a lot of guys that really want to go out there and start their own business. When you work for somebody, it's easy, based on a technician standpoint, because when you go home, you don't really have to deal with the issues. When you get warranty jobs, it's not really your issues and things like that. It's not the money that comes out of your pocket. So, they see all these jobs coming in, you're doing 12 jobs a day for Safelite or whatever the case may be, AGN. And, you think like, oh, well, I can do this. This is easy. And then you go out on your own. If you don't have any like 6 months worth of backup in your end, especially if you have a family, if you have a family and you already have overhead just personally, that is going to bog you down unless you're like really good with your vendors and things like that, getting very good competitive pricing. If you've been doing work for some of your, clients for a long time and they're willing to swap companies from the company that they've been with for 10 years and then you're going out on your own, that's very, very different. But to you to think that you're just going to walk away from a company that's just giving you a paycheck every week, doesn't matter what the price is, on that. And for you to actually start your own business, there's a huge step from something like that. Some people can do it. Some people are cut out for things like that. Some people are just not really good under pressure, So, I really wanted to really stress that because I do see this a lot on some of the posts and everybody's like, oh, I'm finally about to leave the company I've been working for 20 years and so and all these things like that. And they realize that, when they get into like an owner, everything is on you. Like everything is on you. And, just say, for instance, you finally got a van, you built this van up and everything. 3 months later, the van breaks down. You don't have any back end funding for this now. You already calculated what you could probably do, but you really didn't factor in too much of like, all right, what happens if the tire blows out? And I promised this customer I was going to be there at 9 a.m. Bam, there's a 1-star review. These are a lot of things that when, as a technician, you have to think about before you really make that big step. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of, really good stories while people leaving the company and going to doing their own thing. But there's a lot, for every one success story, there's 10 failure companies. And people don't talk about a lot about the failures. They only want to say that they're the best in the game and they do all this, but nobody wants to tell you about the warranty jobs they get and things like that. Or like, oh, I had to do supposedly, as an example, let's say you did a V-beat on the top and you did the seam on top of the camera and then it leaks onto the camera. Now you owe an 8S camera in the dashboard. They didn't tell you about that. You didn't know about that. All you heard was, there's another car out the shop again.
Yeah.
So I would definitely bring that home to some of the guys that really want to just like break away from what you're doing right now to really actually have a standpoint and a focus and, to really just actually understand what you want your business model to be. Some people just want quality. Some people want quantity. There's two different things to expecting quality and quantity. I am not one of those big shops that, we do thousands of jobs, a week. I just don't do that. I do like maybe 8 jobs a day, but those 8 jobs are quality jobs, high-end vehicles over $250,000 or, Textron government contracts, things like that. Ballistic glass like Loomis and Brinks, Amazon, UPS, FedEx, Penske, Ryder, things like that. All those are my accounts. But, I actually been rambling so long, I forgot what the question was.
No. That's good because if I was to go out on my own, which there was that time where I was going to, I had set up where I was going to buy this company, and then it was on a handshake, and nothing fell through. They didn't give me a purchase price, and then it was like, well, I've got all these things. I got my business insurance, I got my van, I got my name, I got my business checking account. I started talking to some of my friends that were, you know what I mean? And there's like, realistically, there is a lot that goes into it that you wouldn't. That's me, man. Like, if you're hearing the ding, that's mine
I
coming
just put
through.
mine on
So,
silent.
yeah, I just tried to, and hopefully more comes through. So, but because I'm using my phone as a webcam, so my iMac is, doing everything.
Ah,
So, like, yeah, but there's so much more that I never knew. And then I have friends who they own their own, and they literally don't have any time. Like 20 calls a day, and they're trying to answer the phones. They're trying to do all the work, then have a work-life balance. And, like, because if I wouldn't have, take the fixed network job, I might have ended up being on my own. And it was an eye-opening experience for just dabbling. I didn't do anything. I just dabbled, trying to learn that side of it. Took a few night business courses, and that's a lot that you don't think about the gas money in your van. You don't think about the commercial license plates, the commercial insurance on your van, the actual business insurance, the commercial business insurance, the liability insurance, the garage keepers. Then you're going to do ADAS, taxes, sales tax, all kinds of, then if you have employees, employment tax. So I never want to tell anybody not to do it, but what I want to tell people, and what I'm thinking you want to tell people as well is, really think about it and have a business plan. Have a plan of action. For you were thrown into it, and then you had to think of your plan of action, which sounds to me like you've gotten it figured out, but you have to have a plan of action. So that's where a business plan, you can fall back on, because it gives you the steps that you need to, follow a path, kind of say, what I mean? Those things they don't just tell you that for no reason. Any good, business school or coach, they're going to tell you to have a business plan. And have a realistic business plan. For me, if I was going to start my own, I am all about quality.
Got to.
So it'd be hard for me to employ other people, because for one, I would hold them to my standard, which would be hard. Not saying I'm the greatest technician in the world. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, for me to hold someone else to my standard, it would be hard because of how hard I am on myself. And then I won't be bringing in that much work to employ another person, because I want to make sure the work that's going out is safe, So, for me, if I was to do my own, I'm looking at 6 jobs a day at the most for just me. Eight would be pushing it for me. Like, because I know what it would take for me to walk away from a job if my name was the only name on it. I did work for a company for, 20 some years, and it was like, I not only did I have my name on it, but their name was on it as well. So it took away some of the, okay, yeah, it's a good job, but I just know, for me, it'd be hard to walk away from a car until it was absolutely perfect if my company name was the one on it. So I can feel that. I can feel what you're saying.
That's like the biggest thing, especially when you hire techs. One thing about it is, the first thing that you normally do, generally, in my experience, when I see guys start their own companies, they hire their friends. And, sometimes it works out pretty well and sometimes it doesn't. The biggest thing that's going to kill a friendship would be, business, over money and things. But if you can find those techs and they really understand quality, and you're willing to give them the training, and they're not going to walk away over the course of time, that you're going to be great. But with this economy and the things that we deal with these days, it's not like it was 10 years ago, when you can start off a company, let's say $5,000 in your bank account in a truck. It doesn't, the price of insurance is ridiculous. Taxes, tax adjustments, even my taxes, parish tax, which is county tax out here, just went up again, another like 2%. And then my insurance goes up almost, it feels like 25% a year, and then you have to up the coverages based on garage keeper, on the type of cars that you do, so it's just like, everybody wants to be the best in the industry. And that's great. We want that. We want everybody to be the best in the industry. But with that, you have to come training. There was a guy I messaged on one of his ads, and I probably should have never had done that. But, his ad told a story. They didn't pull the cowl panels and stuff like that. So, I told him, I was like, hey, this is kind of like not the way it's supposed to go. Well, then I forgot about it. This was actually a week and a half ago. It was a Saturday. And then, he reached out to me like 11 o'clock. He's like, what do you know about my business? Yada, 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 and all this nonsense. And I was like, do you hold any certifications at all? Like anything? And of course, he gave me the old jabble of, well, in order to get the insurance and be in an insurance network, like we have to be certified and things like that, which was a lie because I had already checked the AGSC website and he was not certified. But I didn't,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't tell him about that. That's not my job to tell you about that. I
Yeah.
was just wondering, curiosity. It wasn't me just, poking at your video, but if you're going to make an ad for a video for your own company and then you're not really abiding by the rules, I feel like with standard quality practice, then I feel like I have to call you out. And I feel like some of the guys, especially in like the group chat, they do the same thing. We always share these videos, and I had to get him to a point where I was like, hey, this video just didn't come to me randomly, in my feed. It was shared to a group, and that's how it became known to me. So it wasn't just me that had a disagreement with you in your own videos. You could do whatever you want with your company, but it was a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of other guys too. There was like 30 other messages about the ad. And you just so happened to pick me out to target, which is fine because at the end of the
Yeah.
conversation, he realized I owned the business. I didn't tell him I worked for somebody and things like that. He just thought I was a guy that came into his DMs. Well, come to find out, once I started using the terminology and was disagreeing with some of his points about how third-party administrators, that's when he kind of like his whole tone changed throughout the course of the conversation. He started to realize like, hey, I don't just work for somebody. I actually
Yeah.
know what I'm talking about here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, owning a business is one of those things where it's stressful. Again, like I said, the point across is like when you go home and you work a 9 to 5 and you're doing 12 jobs a day, don't get me wrong, it's rough, but you still get to go to sleep that time. You get to get off at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock or 8 o'clock, and you don't really have to worry about too much. You go on, so you clip on Sports Center and you're hanging out and stuff like that. But most of us business owners, we don't get that option. Especially if you have a family, you're
Mm-hmm.
wondering about what's going to happen next week and what's going to happen tomorrow and then a month from now, especially in the season here. Luckily, I don't really do retail too much, so I don't really have to worry about slow seasons, and things like that. But in the beginning, I did, the first year of me taking it over in 2020, I didn't have the backing that my brother Kyle had. I couldn't take over his number and things like that. I didn't have access to none of the accounts. So I literally had to start the company all over again, change the
Mm.
name and not have any contacts. I knew some people, but I was too small at that point in time. It was just me in a van with one of my friends. I didn't know how to bail out dealerships and things like that and know what RO numbers in and wait for 45 days to get paid. And then like that, I didn't know none of that. So I had to give it all away. And I promised him I'll come back and get it. I was like, and once I know enough, I'll come back and get it. The one thing about my brother was he was very well known in the industry out here in my area. So everybody knew him. They thought he was literally going to be the safe flight of the South because he did. He was probably going to end up being that. But unfortunately, based on the situation, he didn't get the option. So my job was to take the company and to elevate it. But then I realized like scaling for me just wasn't the way. I didn't want to scale. Like some of the guys, I think like Adrian, these guys are all probably bigger, multiple shops like Titan Glass and things like that. And I love their business strategies and the way that they do it. To me, I just felt like it wasn't for me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to have a company here, a company there, a company there, and have to manage all this stuff. And to me, it's a headache right now. With one location dealing with the customers that I deal with right now, and I'm not saying the customers themselves are a headache. It's just business as an overall sense is a headache. If you promise these parts don't come in. You promise these customers, and the customers don't come in, or you can't make that time frame. To me, your word is everything. And
Yes.
building a business in the beginning, you are the brand. The person that owns the company that's out there doing everything, you are the physical brand. So when you promise something, you have to make sure you can deliver on it. So don't promise a customer glass is going to be in a month from now when you know you have to ship it from Germany. It may get held up in customs and things like that. And some of these clients are like really big. If you order the glass from Germany, that the client's probably paying a lot of money for this glass. So his disclaimers to me is like a really big thing, especially when it comes to chip repairs. Like anything in the industry that I feel like should have a disclaimer on it, I relay that to my customer because I don't want my customer to feel like I'm not giving you them as much information as possible. And when it comes down to quality is for sure number one. You could build a nice business. You could probably gross 2 men in a shop, $500,000 with quality. And I'm a proven fact of that. I think we gross anywhere from like 500 to 600,000 off of probably like 2 to 3 guys in one shop. Now, I do own 2 other companies, which I do own Fleur de Lis Glass. I do own Safe Art Glass, but my main company, the one I focus on mostly, is Premier Glass out here in New Orleans. And that's like the biggest one. And then once they become a brick and mortar shop out there, which they're only mobile service companies, it's only had by 2 guys per side, but that's what they want to do. I wanted to give them their option to scale however they want to do. And I just decided to do 50% with that. But when it comes down to some people say there's not enough money in auto glass, which I feel like isn't really per se I feel like either one, your business strategy is not good, you're just not the right person for the job.
Yeah.
Because at any given moment, you could really offer quality, and you can still be cheap, but not the cheapest. You don't want to be too cheap because then you're just killing yourself for no reason. I mean, I know there's a guy out here, can't name his name, but he pulls up with a truck with a dog named Pickles, and hopefully he watches this thing because he'll know who he is. But B, baby, you're too cheap. You're just too cheap, dude.
You're
But
too
he's older.
cheap.
He doesn't care. He's one of
Hmm.
those guys that are just at the precipice of his age that he's not going to invest in ADAS. And
Yep.
I get it. He started probably back in the 80s, going through the 90s and things like that, pipe knives and
Yeah.
cutting like no extractors. So I get it.
Yeah.
I know he's on his way out, but to me, I feel like in order for a glass company to scale, you have to incorporate ADAS at some point in time. Now, I know there is a big thing when it comes down to ADAS. Half the people are on the fence with it. Half the people are like, you got to have it. You got to do it mandatory. There's a bunch of invoices I can show to you right now where I charge nothing for ADAS. And the reason being is because I really only have to charge the insurance companies for it because the system already paid for itself. If you
Hmm.
spend 6,000 for a car count or 7,000, whatever the case may be, to 30,000 for an auto system. If as long as you're doing enough insurance jobs, I feel like that would pay for your system maximum 2 years. If you're
Yeah.
not doing a lot of insurance jobs. So Phil, the argument to me when people were like, "Well, it's just a money grab," well, why charge them? Give it to them for free.
Hmm.
That's what I do. I have countless of invoices where ADAS, calibration, dynamic, static, zero charge included. But as a disclaimer, I always tell my customers, it's because I don't charge you for it, I can't warranty it for it. I will still give you the work for free and everything, but if something later on down the line does, like further past 6 months, within 3 to 6 months, I'll take a look at it and we'll do what we have to do. But after 6 months, because I didn't charge you for the service, it's really not my problem. My
Yeah.
customers understand that. Now, when it comes to insurance companies, of course, we bill them out just like we bill anybody out. NAGS list pricing, yada yada yada. Um, it's a topic I definitely want to touch on too, like third party administrators and things. But I'll let you get a word in.
Nah, dude, it's been a pleasure. I think one thing that needs to be hit home is the fact that you don't realize that your boss is waiting 45 days for payments from a dealership. He's 30 he or she's waiting 30 days for most insurance invoices to be paid on, even with EDI. Sometimes
Yep.
you get 2 weeks, but so that you got to have some cash reserve to carry you over until these come in. The cash flow has to. Hey everyone, Ghost Set Killer here. We have a new segment that we're going to implement every week. Thanks to Dave Koppel with the Autoglass Helpline, he's helping us out. We're going to give you guys tech tips, and he's the man for them. If you haven't checked out his channel, check out his channel. But Dave, what do we got today?
So today we're going to start out with a safety tip here. When you are reloading your orange bat, the one thing to make sure you pay attention to is when you're spooling it up, make sure you don't get your finger caught in the spool or caught in the line. Because as this spools up, when you've got new line coming in, it has a tendency to loop as it's coming up, especially with fresh line. And if that loop wraps around your finger, it's going to suck it right into that spool. And I actually I almost caught a finger in a spool in a loop one time, and I actually had somebody comment on one of my orange bat loading videos that he lost the tip of his finger doing that. So yeah,
Mm.
so two things: make sure you're paying to that, or make sure you're paying attention to that loop, and then make sure your drill is on low. Do not load it on high speed.
Um,
Because that's when I almost lost the end of my finger.
oh goodness, goodness. Now you said you had a video for loading the bat.
I
So
do
that's
a
on
couple
your
actually.
channel, correct? What is your channel? Is YouTube channel?
Yeah,
Yeah,
YouTube.
YouTube.
Just go on and search Autoglass Helpline, and it should pull it up. There's 200 plus, almost 300 videos, I think. Uh, if you click on the playlist, I started building playlists for cowling removals, orange bat, Pro Six. Um, I'm trying to build a playlist for like each individual thing. Like again, moldings and cowlings, orange bat removals or reloading, um, Pro 6. I'm going to start building a couple because I've got a few videos on sharpening the blades using the Pro Scraper. So, uh,
There's plenty of variety for everybody out there. Go check out the Autoglass
yeah, for
helpline.
sure.
Now, just a personal question. You're going to explain it when they're watching the video, but do you like to load the bat on the car or off the car?
Off the car.
Off the car. Okay.
I preload my bat. I actually stick it to the top of my toolbox,
Mm-hmm.
and because I keep my line in my toolbox so I can stretch out my line.
Mm-hmm.
I got a buddy who sticks his to the back window on his van,
Yeah.
and he spools it.
What do they need to look out for as far as when the line's getting older? Is there telltale signs that you only got a few cars left on that one? Is there signs it's like, so what we got there real quick?
Basically, the line will start to change color, obviously, depending on what line you're using. I mainly use the WRD Spider line, P8 for 99% of what I pull, P10 for heavy glass, and then the XN96 and the P6 for saving glass if you need to.
Okay. So there's a wide range of thicknesses, and they
Yeah.
need to use those for the appropriate application, correct?
Yeah, and they start out a nice bright yellow, and they will eventually start to change color. They'll get dirty and gray, and you'll see the edges of it start to fray.
Okay.
So that's when you know you're starting to get down to the wire, so to speak.
Nice pun. All right, everybody that's listening, this is going to be, let us know in the comments or however that if you like this segment, because this segment's going to go on for quite a while. It could go on the rest of the time of the show as long as Dave is willing to do so. But it's going to be a weekly. When I release my podcast, he's going to pick a topic. If there's a topic you want to see covered, please let us know, and then he'll dive into it, and we'll do a little show like this, and we'll make sure that he posted up on his YouTube channel as well. So yeah, we'll put some links up to your channel and everything with this show, because this is on Dylan's show. Next week will be the Glass Rebel, and we'll be doing some blade sharpening, right? That'll be for that one, and then the future shows we'll decide from there. But this is nice, short and sweet, 5 minutes. I thank you for your time, sir, and everybody keep on listening. Like the show, share the show, go on and like Dave's Autoglass Helpline pages, Instagram, Facebook, X.
Everything is Autoglass Helpline.
Everything's Autoglass
TikTok,
Helpline.
Instagram, and YouTube.
YouTube. See, Autoglass Helpline. It can't get any simpler than that. And also, he's got some pretty sweet merch, too. So if you're interested in some merch, let him know.
Delving into that topic.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
You have to be there. So I like what you said. You can't do it for 5,000, but I think the 20,000 mark is definitely. Thanks.
That makes sense. If you can sell, you're good, but you need to be able to do the work too. You know, like it both goes hand in hand. If you're a 100% technician, you need to be 100% at marketing, especially in the early stages of business. Well, this is what brings back the brand and you being the brand. You can bullshit a customer all day and get the job in, but the work will speak for itself.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like a really big believer in karma. Karma will get you. If you're doing a sloppy job, karma will come back and slap the shit out of you, and you will be hurt.
They won't even think twice about it. They'll just spike your ass to the ground, and you won't even be able to pop back up. Because all right. So we were talking about the business. Okay, yeah. So they don't understand that there is 45 days that the boss has to wait, and he or she's making payroll on jobs that haven't been paid yet. So you got to think about that if you're starting a business. And then, like you said, you got to be a salesperson. You got to sell yourself. You got to sell your qualities. You got to sell everything. But so you're not telling technicians not to do it. You're just telling them to be prepared. Is that correct? Yeah. So what would you do if you had to restart over again today in this game? How would you go about it for our listeners?
All righty. So it would be the same principle, because I feel like honesty is always the best policy, and knowledge is always going to be the key to greatness. You need to know what you're selling. And if I had to redo it all again, I probably wouldn't, because it'd be a lot harder. The economy is a lot different. Technology is actually a lot different. The upfront cost is a lot more. I did kind of have a head up on the game, And the reason why is because my brother passed away, I actually had a van with all the tools that I needed to have to actually do it. So that was the biggest cost to me. But if I did have to do it and I end up doing it all over again, it would be the same principle of what I did now, except for just a lot more money up front than really understanding like taxes and the back end stuff. Yeah, I think that's like the biggest thing that most people kind of overlook, because the first thing that everybody thinks of is the money. Like, oh man, if I leave this company, I can go make the most money and everything. But then you got to remember too, if you gross 200,000, it's like you work for a company again. So it's just like you're not really going to make as much as you feel like you're going to make, even with all the tax breaks that we get these days. 200,000 gross out of a year minus, your deductibles and everything, you're still not really going to take home too much, depending on what you're writing off and if you're brick and mortar and if you're just mobile only. And like the back end tax thing was like something I didn't really understand too much. But again, I'm really good in trying to understand knowledge. I really want to do as much as I can myself. That way I can train. Now, I had a conversation with, I think it was Adrian or whatever. He was offering his services, and I just wanted to just touch base with him, just to kind of see. I knew there was more people in the market that probably needed it more than I did, but just to kind of just bounce back and forth with him and, CSRs and things like that, things that I don't really use, which is probably something that'd be good for most companies that are trying to scale and things like that. Like, that's good. But in order to be the best CSR, I feel like you need to have the best knowledge. And I feel like the owner himself or herself should have that. Even if you don't need it, you don't need to know marketing. You should probably still know marketing just to see if your CSR is actually doing it correctly, or your management company is actually doing it correctly and things like that. You should have a general background in almost everything that you need to have as a business. So if I actually had to do it again, it'd probably be marketing and the back end on taxes, like really hitting home to that stuff and trying to spend as much money in the beginning of the company, because that stuff costs a lot of money. Even Google itself, every area is different, but Google Analytics will tell you what the average company is paying per day on their stuff. And then if you're a company that's just starting off, and let's say, God, hope you did pull out a business loan or something like that you have to pay it back and not like a grant, all that stuff is pressure. For more money that you owe is a lot more pressure. Then your job is really to take all that pressure off of you.
Yeah.
So, I think the biggest thing, to me, is I got lucky in a way out of an unfortunate event. The biggest question, I had to speak at Dillon University out here. One of my clients was the head of business and economics at Dillon University, which is one of the most prestigious schools out here and when it comes to colleges. And when I did her job and it was finished, she was so thankful based on how easy the simple process was. I mean, the process was simplicity, the way that we explained everything to her, that she actually offered me a spot to speak to the kids. And so I did that. And the biggest question was like, man, how did you get from zero to like where you're at right now? And I told him, man, I got lucky. I really did. I didn't have kids. I didn't have a family. I didn't have a girlfriend at the time. I was going through a lot at that moment, but the grieving process, I don't think I had time to grieve, because I just turned all that grieving into energy to build the company. I literally worked 12 hours a day. I mean, I was out there at night, 12 o'clock, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, just pushing the company just to make sure it would work. I don't believe in failure. There's one thing that is not a word in my vocabulary. If you failed, it was your fault. I don't care what the outside elements were. I don't care what happened, whatever the case may be, because you should have always structured yourself into a point where failure was never the option. If you learn a lot and you can sell yourself, to me, that's the biggest thing. But quality is always going to be the top exception of everything. We're not a 20-car shop. I like old schools, heavy equipment, and fleet 18-wheeler vehicles. If I can do most of those, that's fine with me. Fleet will always keep you consistent. Old schools will always give you a challenge. And then heavy equipment is just really good money. So it covers the three bases.
Yeah.
To me personally, if it's not a challenge, I don't want it. Now, don't get me wrong. Is fleet vehicles a challenge these days? No, it's not, but it's consistency. So it checks off that box of, okay, I don't really have to struggle too much on come December, January, or February. And I'm offering a lot of, a lot of resources for a little bit less than, I guess, some of my guys in my industry, but not too low. I feel like I'm just like, have to put these guys in the back burner. I feel like that's the depth of a contract. If you undercut and you underbid too much, you have to put these guys at the back burner so you could take on the money that's a lot more. Like if I charge you hypothetically $150 over cost of glass to do 10 fleet vehicles and you consistent off of that, at some point in time, I have to put you in the back burner and make this $1,000 on this 2025 Yukon. You know,
Mm-hmm.
now how many times am I going to put you behind to the company is like, all right, well, we don't want to deal with you no more.
Yeah.
You know, over promising and undeliver is a death of the company. It's a death of your brand. It's a death of, you know, your reputation and things like that. You don't want to be known as like, yeah, he's cheap, but I can't really rely on him, which is how I got most of my good clients
Mm-hmm.
these days. You know, well, some of the biggest vendors like, you know, UPS and FedEx and Amazon and things like that. Am I more expensive? Yeah, I am more expensive. And they complain about it in the beginning, but it's because it's reliability. You're paying for me to tell you in 24 hours that glass should be done.
Yeah.
You know, same day or 24 hours is usually what I push for. 48 hours if I can't get the glass in time, if I don't have the stock for it. Or if something happens, like it's about to snow tomorrow. We've never seen snow in almost a decade out here. So we're going to
Mm-hmm.
be closed tomorrow and Wednesday because we're just not ready for stuff like that in New
Yeah.
Orleans. You know, if it freezes tomorrow and it snows, when Wednesday comes and it's still 20 degrees, I have no way to get to you. So I'm not even going to promise you anything for the next 2 days. I know I'm going to be closed on Tuesday, and it's a hypothetical I'm going to close on Wednesday. So let me just book you in for Thursday at the price point or whatever the price point is. So under delivering, but I mean, in order to get all this out the way, to answer your question, for one, I probably wouldn't do it again, you know, because the stars didn't align like they are now, you know,
Yeah.
back then. Yeah. But understand your business plan, understand the economics of it, understand your unit costs. Dale Paccarello, shout out to him, which is Migrants rep, which is a good rep of mine. Used to work at Safe Light, was the head of sales at Service Glass, which is what they own at the warehouse. Um, Me being me, and because my brother, I guess a little bit, you know, I have very good relationships with all my vendors, Migrant, PGW, and Pilgriton. You know, Tracy, which is the regional, I talked to her directly. Dale Pecoraro, which is my sales representative, I talked to him. And then PGW, I don't really talk to them too much because they're in the middle of a phase right now by switching people out and things like that. But those two other companies, you know, very good relationships with them. When people want to understand how to excel in business, you need to have very good clients that you can talk to and very good vendors that you can actually, you know, express your concerns to. They're willing to actually help you and things like that, but not in a way where you're just like another number to them. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
you actually talk to these guys, you get recommendations from them, you know, you speak to you and things like that. And it's kind of hard when you just swap from a technician standpoint to a business owner standpoint because you don't really have any, you know, knowledge and background with this, things like that. So you're out there trying to search for these numbers, and you're trying to search who does your representation for your Sika and stuff like that. But the moment that you get them, you treat them like a client because
Yeah.
that's basically all they are. You're just their client, you know? So as long as you can do that, then yeah. So vendor, definitely 100%. Sales too, marketing and taxes would be the best thing for me. I would say if I restarted all over again, just really hammering down that stuff because all that stuff didn't really come into play until probably about a year after the company. But
Mm.
I feel like in the pushing moment of just trying to build the brand and build the expectations that my customers really wanted. So yeah,
Okay.
that'll probably answer that.
So let's talk TPAs. You want to talk TPAs because
Ah,
TPAs is a big
Lord.
part of the game. You know, we don't make any money off of insurance companies, is what you hear on the streets. Word on the street is we don't make any money, and TPAs is taking all of our money. You know, we're not making anything. So what do you got on the TPA front?
Man. So we are driven just came into the situation.
Mm-hmm.
There was a thing when I was telling you about the guy that actually messaged me back and he was shooting for like, oh, well, German's going to change the industry, revolutionize the industry, hopefully. And I was like, well, no, the only way the industry will revolutionize itself is if they got rid of TPAs. There's no reason why I, as a business owner or anybody generally in the industry, should have to go through their own competitors to process glass claims. That should be highly illegal. That
Yeah.
should be a monopoly. That is like the core principle of monopolization. You know, that's impossible. But minus that fact, the National Auto Glass Specification List, you know, we have to touch base on that before we can get to TPAs because
Yep.
the pricing is not accurate to what the standards are these days.
Mm-hmm.
And if anything, they feel like they get lower, which they do fluctuate and things like that. So I feel like that should be getting rid of automatically, or it should just restructure the whole company for a general, you know, conglomerate of, you know, IGA, AGSC, and NAGS. You know, all those companies should actually work together to actually set the standard pricing based on what the economical situation is in America and just the overall, you know, money concern when it comes
Mm-hmm.
down to it. Now, when it comes down to third-party administrators, I'm highly against them. I am not in anybody's network. I don't do networks. No, 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 no. You're not about to price gouge and do all this and make me work for nothing. I bill a straight OEM every single time, and I bill them a lot. Everything. I'm pretty sure if I reached out to State Farm and all of them, and I went through like SGC and I looked at my actual history, because I've heard, and I think it's true, that y'all get, if you're in the network and you actually apply for OEM, that strikes against the company, because I guess they give you jobs or whatever, so they start to tier you out within that. I've never actually seen it because I've never been in the network. I've always believed against it. But I heard that's a thing, and I feel like that's wrong. Just that core part for every time that you are requesting OEM, especially if it's a vehicle within 3 years. 2025, 2024, 2023 should be automatic OEM, especially with ADAS. If a big thing right now with ADAS is, and especially if you go to a dealer, which everybody knows, if you install an OEM in an aftermarket glass and it doesn't want to calibrate, or something happens later on, you bring it to the dealership, you know what they're going to do? Oh, it's because it's not an OEM glass. Well, if that's the case, shouldn't it be regulatory? So shouldn't we have a regulation on that? As it should automatically be. There should be no OEM endorsement. Yeah, I shouldn't have to have that. Say install an OEM glass for at least any vehicle that has ADAS, or any other vehicle that does not have ADAS that is within the 3-year mark. So that's the reason why. And then like the rates, what is it, like $40-something an hour? And it varies depending if you're in Midwest, in the middle of nowhere, compared if you're in a big city. Like 40 could be 40, could be 62, it could be whatever the case may be, or whatever. I mean, think of it like this. The average tech these days, probably, what is it, like $1,500 or something like that, or $1,000 if you're just starting, maybe way less than that. But I think the average most experienced tech is over $1,000. And if you're doing $40 an hour, like, how am I supposed to make money as a business? And not even talking about like, oh, let me go buy a big mansion and drive Lamborghinis. I'm just talking about surviving. If you, let's say you want to put the extra van on the road, like, we actually really have to understand our unit costs. And I know what my unit cost is, and I don't mean like how much the glass piece is. I mean an actual unit cost. How much money do I have to make on top of this job to even survive? That's unit cost. That's what I meant. Shout out to Dale Packer, because he's actually one who broke that down to me. He told me what Safelight's unit cost was, which is crazy. And he told me what my unit cost was based on like my overhead and things like that. If you don't really understand your unit cost, how do you know if you're making money? You take your average job count per month and you divide that by whatever you're making, and then it'll be, okay, that's my unit cost. This is how much money I need to make sure I'm either going over or being positive, or if I'm actually losing money on this job. You should never really lose money on a job, but there's times where you get a customer that's just, that customer is in a bad position, and so you feel like you want to help them out. Well, the biggest problem with that was, in my first year, I wanted to help everybody out. But those are the ones that I end up turning around by my ass. But then when it comes down to third-party administrators, it's one of those things where it's like, it's just not enough money for us. And they always want to try to G you down. Like tempered glass cleanup should automatically be calculated.
Yes.
For a tempered job.
Yep.
That makes no sense why I have to do an approval for that.
Yep.
ADAS calibration is in OEM spec. So there's no reason why I should have to have an approval for that. That should already be on the table.
Yes. Yes.
But they're hoping that you don't pray for that. They're hoping you'll get that so they can actually make more money. Like all of it's all of the big money grab. So when people talk about ADAS and ADAS being a big money grab, now TPA is a big money grab. There's really no reason why I should be going through an external company to process. And it's even worse. God, the amount of sunroofs I do. It's worse when it comes to sunroofs.
Yeah.
Because now you have to go through, I'm not going to say their name because I don't want them to sue me, but they know who the hell they are. And everybody that owns a company that goes to that company knows who they are. Not only is it an extra step, it takes more time to actually get a glass from that company. I think it takes me up to about 2 weeks before I can actually get the job in sometimes. From the time that the glass claim is filed through insurance to the time it actually hits that company's desk, for them to reach back out to me for an email, for me to actually send them everything that needs to be done, for them to reach back out to me, I think that takes about a week. And then it takes about 5 or so days for me to actually get the glass. Now, imagine how many customers that have a sunroof that has almost 2 weeks to wait. And it's even worse now because you have the wildfires. You have all the other stuff that's going on in the country that pushes these glass claims even further back. And then the customer, again, when you're an owner, all this falls on you because the customer's looking at you. They don't really look at the logistics of it. They don't look at the insurance company, and they don't look at the third-party administrative process. And they look at you. So when you book a job, promises, oh yeah, I'll have this glass and I'll have this all done. And then you come to find out you can't do it because your hands are tied behind the back because you have to process your invoices through another company. And hopefully they get back to you in a timely manner. And then some of the time, it was even worse to COVID because then you had to do emails. It was email based. So it's like I couldn't even get to field support.
Yes.
For a while. So it's like, it was crazy. It got to a point where we knew that the steering was far to that, the black and red. We knew that 100%. at that moment in time, because by the time I actually got a reply back from the third-party administrator, the customer had already left and went somebody else. Now
Yeah. And then
it's worse for other companies.
if you order the glass and you go OE, a lot of that's not returnable, non-returnable. And because it took so long for things to be processed and stuff, now the customers went somewhere else. You're stuck with a piece of glass.
You're stuck with that glass.
That OE won't return it because they're just like, well, no, we're not returning it. You ordered it and you got to have it. And then now it's costing you money for trying to do the right thing. Yeah, that's.
I mean, think of it like this: like Pilkington, their mission statement is, OptiAim. They don't cover any other tool other than OptiAim. I heard this. This is not true for me, and I shouldn't be talking about it probably because my vendors love me. But when it comes down to like OptiAim and ADAS calibration, I know some people have a problem with returning a Pilkington glass back to Pilkington, and they use an Autel system, but it didn't calibrate through. Well, under your refund agreement through Pilkington, if you didn't use an OptiAim, you wasn't up for a refund anyway.
Mm-hmm.
They only cover their own system when it comes down to non-recalibrations and not any other system. Now, sometimes I guess they'll try to take stuff back and sometimes they won't, or whatever the case may be, but like that's still a problem. Like if me as a company has to buy a 2275 for hypothetically $500, which is a GMC with head-up display, I'm stuck with that glass. $500 glass.
Mm-hmm.
And you multiply that by how many times that you do a high expensive glass like that per month, and then you multiply that by 12 months of a year, and then you realize like, man, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
So
you know what I think's crazy is, and correct me if I'm wrong on this one, because what I've heard is, so your TPA says, you got to try to do with aftermarket 3 times, and then we'll buy an OE piece of glass if it still won't calibrate. Okay. But they won't pay you for your labor for all 3 times.
No. And that's the problem too with returns.
It's like, wait a second. First of all, I can't return the glass. So I'm stuck with that. So I got to buy another piece of glass. And then you're not going to pay me to do the job like I did it the first time. So, now after we've tried this to save you money, we tried all this. Now we have to go with the OE. But we're only doing it at the cost of glass. We're not able to charge you more. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, you should be able to bill out every time that you submitted labor
every time.
for all 3. So the glass
I mean, that makes logical sense.
Yeah.
But then when you deal with the insurance companies, the insurance companies' adjuster's job is to pay out the least amount of money as possible. That's what they do. Now, fortunately for us, we don't really have to deal with adjusters unless you actually add in ADAS cameras, and then that's when it swaps over to an auto claim, and it doesn't go actually to like links in the SGC. I mean, I've had to do that before. But when it comes down to insurance, like lately, within the past year, I don't do TPAs anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like I accept a check with the matching ID, and I bill you directly. And most of my customers understand it, and because most of them have already tried to do the insurance route before, and then they just feel like they get to run around. So now I don't even have to do that anymore. It's like insurance companies make my job a lot more easier, but it's just one of those things like steering. Like that's the biggest thing. Like steering for especially small companies like right now, let's say Joe Schmo wants to go start his own company out, and he goes up to the insurance companies, and the next thing you know, he's on the phone with his client, and his client's getting steered to red and blue. I mean, black and red or blue or whatever it is nowadays. And like, imagine how that person feels. Like, got his client, it's probably his 3rd month in business, and the next thing you know, the insurance company is telling him, "Oh, well, you can't use you. You're not in our network." And but he's new. He doesn't know how to resell that to the customer to get that job back, to reclaim it. So what he does, he throws his hands up and lets that customer go.
Yeah.
There's nothing he could tell the customer, because now the customer's informed by the insurance company, and the customer feels like the insurance company is always right. But the customer doesn't know that the insurance company is wrong.
Yeah.
That's the hardest thing to tell a customer sometimes, is that your insurance company does not understand what they're talking about because they don't process glass claims in-house. So how could they even know? But the customer doesn't know this. So when they listen to you, they just think you're trying to get over on them.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
And so now you lost the job.
Yeah, I paid this company money. They're going to pay out for my insurance. So I have to do what they say because I've paid them to take care of it, and they're paying for this windshield, even though I paid my premiums all year and didn't have a single accident, nothing like that. So even though they're telling me I can go wherever I want, I'm still probably going to lean to who they want us to use.
Who they want me to.
Yeah, because I'm in an awkward position because it's like, well, I don't want to upset them. They may up my rates, or there's all kinds of thoughts that go through people's head, and it's just like finally, it's like, well, let me just go with this place because this is what they're. And
it's just
sometimes
easier for me.
Yeah, the customer doesn't. and sometimes, they'll be like, they feel bad for leaving you. So they'll be like, well, they told me I had to use them. And then they go back and listen to the recordings, and that's not what they actually said, but it was somewhere along those lines. They danced in between, and the customer felt bad enough where they were just like, you know what? I trust my insurance company. They're going to put me through it takes a lot for somebody to fight the insurance company for this small business to do the job. It really does. So if you get customers from your small business, from the insurance TPAs, man, thanking that customer, because they had to really push for you to do the job. They really had to push for you to do the job. They had to listen to quite a few sales pitches about how you don't have a nationwide warranty and how
warranty and all this nonsense.
How the
and that's actually a good thing. Like, I feel like we have a lot of people between our groups now that I feel like if we all came together, we could offer a national lifetime warranty ourselves.
I do too. I do too. But then you got to worry about collusion, which is price fixing, which is another issue that, if a bigger company found out about that, then they're going to come down. And they're going to hammer everyone. So it's like you are in a weird. You're in a weird spot, because you're right. There's enough of a network that if I did a job in Ohio and they drove to Louisiana and they had a problem while they're in Louisiana, I picked up the call. I picked up the phone. I called you, and you'd be like, "Yeah, man, I'll take care of it." You know what I mean? Kind of thing. So it's like I offer that distance. That's a huge distance. You know what I mean? Of a warranty, because and then you and I'd be like, "Okay, well, I hooked you up. Just look out for me later," or something like that. You know what I mean? But there's little things that I don't understand law wise that would prevent that, but there's strength in numbers. So you come together. You come together, and enough people start talking, enough people start, back in the right train, things could potentially happen. But I mean, it's that part. I feel bad for business owners. It's a struggle, man, because you do have that, we have a nationwide warranty where, we have our brand where no matter where you go in the United States, it's the same look, the same feel, the same everything, and it's like, well, as independents, they come to my shop, and my shop isn't as nice as your shop, and they get down there you, and they're like, well, wow, I should have used him right from the start, because I was just up there for that, like this guy's a client, because they don't have that brand that, I'm going to the same place, I'm getting the same treatment kind of thing, even though they might not be, but that's the thought you have with a brand, a huge brand.
I mean, that's what you feel. Most people feel secure when they deal with a national company, until they have the bad experience. That's normally what you're going to go to. When you spend billions of dollars on marketing every year and that jingle gets stuck in your head, and about 80% of the people probably automatically go to that one company before they even start to price around. I'm pretty sure out of half the customers that actually go to local shops, most of them don't even know that you probably can even go to somebody else to get a windshield replacement. I'm pretty sure, because it's their marketing campaign is crucial. It's crazy. I mean, it's on YouTube, it's on regular television, it's on the radio. Like, you can't really get away from it. So the first thing that you think of, like, even me, before I got into the industry, I never knew if there was anybody else that did glass replacements on vehicles except for the jingle. Yeah, until I got into the industry and I started to realize, like, man, there's actually like 10 other companies that'll do it. But then it's just like, all right, everybody's looking for pricing now. So it's just like, I'll just do it for $100 on top of the glass price. Well, let's just go to him. But then you end up having an issue with that company. So then they get disgruntled with the local company instead of going back to the national wide company. And it just ends up being a big convoluted, like, little circle and thing. And that's why I kind of feel like, do I want the industry to be heavily regulated? No. I do want TPAs to be gone, and I should be able to, deal with the insurance company directly. And if we have disagreements, that's between me and the insurance company, not between me and my competitor and the insurance company. Like, that should be nonsense.
Well, I mean, your competitor knows your pricing.
Yeah, competitor definitely knows. Well, not my pricing, because I bill full OEM, full everything.
But you see what I mean?
Guaranteed.
Yeah, and also, I don't know of any other trade that deals with third-party administrator. Body shops deal directly with, the insurance company. Home renos, they deal directly with the insurance company. And, we got to go through a competitor to deal with, Yeah, it's funny you say that about no one knows the difference, because I was at a company that started in 1941, and they started in auto glass, okay? And the number of people that we do a windshield for goes, oh, we didn't even realize you did auto glass. But it's real big on it's real big on the sign,
It's
and
real big.
yeah, thought we
Got
did
the banners
commercial
and everything.
yeah, commercial and residential and shower doors, but they didn't realize we did auto because the first thing people think of, they don't think of your local glass shop doing it. They think of
Yeah.
the jingle, like you said, and
Uh-uh.
it's insane how do the TPAs need to be dealt away with? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Or if they're going to do a third-party administrator, it should be like, I wouldn't say like AGSC, like IGA, but something within that realm where it's kind of regulated and it's for the independent side, not my competitor. You see what I'm saying? Like, I really wouldn't care. Like, I don't really care about links, to be honest with you, too much. I mean, I get that they use links and they're probably so overwhelmed with glass, and I understand that. Pricing, though, pricing is, I feel like it's always going to be like an ags, and like that's that type of issue. But like me going through SGC or something like that, I just feel like that's not right. You shouldn't be able to do that. That's like that's highly illegal. But I guess in my industry, it's not, because it's not regulated.
Yep.
You know, how can you make something illegal if it's not regulated in the first place? It should be illegal to do auto glass.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, man, there's a lot of other trades that don't have as much writing on their work as we do.
Yeah.
And they're regulated, and you have to
Like
have
barbers.
Barrier to entry.
Nail shops.
Yeah.
You know, they have to go through all these certifications and have to do all these years in school. Like, do I want that as a company? No, because it hinders me a lot. But do I want that for the industry? Yes, because it's better for the industry. Now, the problem with that is, okay, if we have to do all these certifications, I have to take all these extra steps and spend all this extra money, will my pricing go up? You know, will I get, better pricing from the insurance companies and stuff like that because I have to do all this stuff now? You know, like doing sports certifications, Rivian, Tesla, like we're certified by all these places, and then but the fees add up. So like now $40 to $50 an hour, 60 whatever it is, kit price 20 flat, 25 flat and stuff like that. That's not even worth it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard enough already without holding a certification, without the residual overhead of having the shop and things like that. But then adding on, technicians, and each one of these technicians have to be certified, and every single certification has to be repaid over a year.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of these incurred costs cost so much. Now, when it comes down, I actually had a good friend of mine ask me, like, is AGSC good, to do? And a knowledge standpoint, yes, but as a business, it's yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you offer me something, I understand you actually have overhead costs too, and you have to pay employees and things like that. But to me, I feel like it's not really there yet to do that at that point. To charge me that much money.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's a lot. But in hindsight, if it's just one company, yeah. But then we have certifications with the AGSC, and then you're doing Ford certification and things like that, and like all of that stuff adds to 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000. Plus you have the ADAS shit that you have to do, all those subscriptions that you have to renew and things like that, which forces you now to actually either one, lower your price, or two, just try to push in as many jobs as possible to get in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I feel like in the beginning of your structure of business, you have to realize what kind of business you want to be at. Is it quality and low, like low techs and, like not low as in like quality of techs, but like the low amount of tech that you have and the low amount of car that you bring in per business? Or is it like you're just trying to mass expand? There's a company out here that just got started around the same time that I did. Yet he's a millionaire and I wasn't. He was able to expand really fast because he had the upfront cost of money to hire all of these people to go just bum rush all the dealerships and everything and take them all away from the smaller guys that had it before him. To me, I felt like that was a big issue. He didn't have any background in replacement of things like that. Is that company certified? Probably not.
Yeah.
I mean, does it help the industry? Yeah. But again, it's just like a part of me is yes and a part of me is no. What am I getting for that? Am I just getting like the certification of that? Or are you fighting for me though? Like, what are you doing other than just giving me the certifications that I need? Because a lot of people have a big issue with the AGSC right now because that's all they're getting. It's just a cert and a nameplate and a badge on them. And I actually haven't spoke really to any higher up, and I probably should talk to them. Like Mike and all that. I think Mike McCarthy just probably got on the board for that, huh?
Yeah, Martin McCarthy. You have Jacques Navant. You have Peter Brown. They're on the sites and everything. And actually, my last show, we kind of touched on what you actually get. In the show with Peter, we did as well. What extra you actually get, like you fall under the insurance liability. If you happen to get sued and you're a registered company, they'll go to bat for you. They're trying to, from my understanding, work with the TPAs and work with But as far as, that is a very good question. And it needs to be brought to the masses is what do we get?
Yeah. Well, what do I get? If I have to, pay this cost for shop, and then if I have to do it per employee, I have to make sure it's beneficial to me. I mean, I love the certification. I think that's probably the really good thing about the AGSC and them really trying to get quality into the industry and stuff like that. But besides that, I could just pick up the AGRSS, the standard handbook, and I can just teach my guys how to do that for free.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So it's all right, if what are you benefiting with me other than, just certifications? I don't really know because, again, I haven't really talked to them. They probably offer a hell of a lot more than I know. I just don't know it. And I'm always on the HETT Tech Talk and things like that and all the other groups.
With you and anybody else that is on these talks and I encourage you to reach out to Jacques Navant, to Peter Brown, to Michael McCarthy, to Drift Chris, because they all just came on to the Autoglaze Safety Council. I mean, not Jacques and Peter, but, because they're president and vice president of the Safety Council. They'll reach out to them. They 100% will have a conversation with you. They'll let you know what you get, because if you're hiding that and no one knows, then it's like you're trying to sell a product that's not going to sell. And I do know there's a lot more behind what they do than, what is out there public knowledge wise. And it's not by design. That's not by design. It's just happenstance, something that happened, kind of. It just didn't make it.
There's one guy though. There's one guy in the chat that's always posting. Mr. Gary Hart. He's always pushing IGA, always pushing that glass program or whatever it is. Yeah. And you need someone like him on the AGSC side. You see what I'm saying? Because
he's part of the committees. He's not on the board, but he's part of the committees. He comes to all of the standards committees, the meetings, and he is a vocal point. And I was on the IGA board for a while, and then when I took my new position, I had to kind of restructure things with timing and everything. Kind of just gets away from you. But there needs to be talks between those two organizations, and I believe there is. But I mean, Gary's on the committees, and Gary's very vocal.
He's in every comment almost, and that's the only reason why I kind of know about the IGA in the beginning of the whole thing is because usually if somebody has a question about vindicators and something like that, there he goes, he's in the comments, stuff like that. He's really doing his marketing part, but then, I feel like AGSC just do the same thing. If you're trying to really run their realm and head this whole thing up, I don't really think anybody really knows about you too much across the country unless you're a business owner or something like that. Nobody really knows about certifications and things like that. I didn't know until I actually owned a company. I didn't know there was such thing as an AGSC unless you worked for a big company. What was it? I think Glass Doctor is one of the ones that hold some of the most AGSC certifications, if I'm not mistaken, without the country. All the locations, I'm pretty sure, are probably certified.
Yeah, I'm not sure how it works because it's a franchise. There's a franchise market, so I don't know how it works. I know I've talked to Tommy at the Autoglass Safety Council meetings. He's real influence and real big in the Autoglass Safety Council. So I've talked to him quite a few times, but I don't really know as far as if they hold the most or how that breaks down. But I encourage you and everybody else, reach out and see. And we need more people active on those pages like Gary saying, this is what you get. This is what you get. This is what we do. So maybe 2025 will bring that. There's some big announcements, I guess, coming. So we'll see. I hope it does. I hope it really does.
If they were smart, even just getting some pamphlets, you have a list of a good bit of companies, you can do a good marketing, a little search for it, like MailChimp or whatever it is, that gives you a compilation of all the auto glass companies in the area. Throw some postcards out. Let me see that. Let me see that you're actually going in and doing your due diligence and you're really trying to spearhead this into where it is, because I haven't got anything from my mailbox except for the spam.
I feel you, and I'm going to pass on because I'm the vice chair of the standards committee, so I'm going to pass on that information 100% to the higher ups that I have contact with. So with that, we've talked about a GSC, we've talked about a bunch of different things, but I know we're over an hour right now, but I cannot let you leave without talking about your contributions to our industry. Okay. Everybody listen up right now. Drift Chris and myself, Drift Chris initiated it and he asked me to come on board. So I did raise money for the North Carolina hurricane victims through Florida, just to help out. Okay. the first donation we pretty much got, the biggest donation monetarily we got was you. Was you. And you said nothing to nobody. You just kind of flew under the radar, and that was a
If it was up
huge
to me, it'd
amount.
been anonymous. But when I clicked the anonymous thing, like the anonymous thing wasn't working, so I was like, this
Yeah.
motherfucker thing. So I was like, all right, I don't care.
I gotta put my name, but dude, thank you for that. And I don't think enough people know that you did that. And I think, you know, everybody who donated, thank you. Thank you to everybody who donated. That money went to a family that was very deserving. They had, you know, they had something happen to where their house was just gone and they couldn't find anywhere to live. And there was all kinds
Oh, that's
of,
good. To,
oh
I'm
yeah,
glad.
it went right. Yeah, it went right to this family. They were able to get I believe they bought a camper to live in. I don't know the exact details. Drift would know that, so I don't want to speak for him on that. But you know what, little bit I know about it, and you just no issues, just boom, jumped in, dropped that big amount of money, and went. And you know that amount of karma putting out there is it's just amazing. And I want to personally thank you, but I don't
No,
think
that's no
everybody knows
problem.
that what you do. You're active on the groups. You're always helping your community, and then you're helping this autoglass community. That is it goes without saying that you're definitely a great human being. I'm not gonna
I would
lie.
tell you
I
right
think,
now, it's like I said, I was big at karma. And I know at the end of the day, for every one person I help, then it'll always come back. And,
Mhm.
you know, that was always big on my brother's side. My brother taught me that throughout the whole course of watching him build his company from 2014 till before he had passed away. You know, I watched how generous he was because he understood the principles of like, hey, if I could help somebody, I can help them. And my background too, like we touched base on background, like where I came from and things like that. But me and my brother were foster kids, and we were foster kids for a long time. So like I've seen the bad in the world and I've seen the good in the world, you
Mhm.
know. And to be able to be in this position where I'm at was like it's by chance, unfortunately, but it's not. It wasn't easy to get to where we're at. So at any point in time, if I feel like I can help somebody, I'm going to help them. You know, if that woman comes to me and I know she can't pay out of pocket for this glass, I'm going to give her that glass for free. You know, will it buy me my ass? Possibly. I don't care. You know, and when it comes down to contributions and donations and things like that, like I will always, I'm not always about monetarily. To me, when I built the company, it wasn't about the money. It was never always about the money. That just happened to come as a foresight and it just generates its own revenue or whatever the case may be. But if I feel like I can help somebody, I will. And I hope that everybody feels the same way because that's the only way I feel like you'll get ahead in this world.
Yeah.
You know, is if you take yourself and you be selfless and then you bring other people around you. You know, if you create positivity, that's all that's going to be around you. You know, it's like a really big thing when somebody says, if you always stay positive, you always gravitate towards positive people. And that's a very true statement. It doesn't matter how you're helping them. If it's just verbal advice or if you're giving them contributions. Now, don't get me wrong, is it tax write-offs? Yeah, it's tax write-off. But there wasn't a tax write-off for me personally because I used my personal side for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so some types of things that you really want to do in this world, you know, now some people have the option to do it and some people really just can't do it because, you know, they're starting their company off. But if you're in a position that where you can help somebody, you should always help them. Not because you're going to get it back, because for one, it just feels good. It feels good to know that, like, hey, I did my contribution and then whatever they did with that is up to them. You know, like, I
Yes.
can give you as much advice in the world, but whether you take it or not, it's up to you. But I'm always
Yeah.
going to give it to you. You know, it's just how I was raised. That's how I had to like instill myself to grow up into this world. And a world full of nothing but hate, you have to be a positive light. You know, and
100%.
that's the best way,
100%.
I feel like. But
Love it.
I don't really want to touch too much on that because, I mean, the contribution is a contribution. I will always contribute into the industry as much as possible. And hopefully one day I could probably sit on the board of AGSC. And that's what I'm shooting for right now. One day, maybe. Some people may not agree with it. I don't really care. But
Well, I tell
I
you
just haven't
what,
done my
just-
due diligence to reach out to everybody yet and to start like really getting into that. Now,
You
when
can-
it came down to it, I was supposed to be at AGW and I didn't because the hurricane hit. But I
Yep.
really was supposed to be there. Me and my guys and my girl was supposed to be out there, but it just didn't really work out that way. I thought that was going to be my foot in the door just to shake everybody's hands, you know, meet the guys that I've been talking to over the course since I've been in the chats and everything. But it didn't really work out. So AGW 2025, unless we get hit by a hurricane again, I'll probably be there.
That's awesome. And then, you know, you can come sit in on any of the meetings. You can get yourself into the system and you can become part of all this, everything. You know, that's the greatest thing is that you can start and you can become part of the system that we have. So I want to thank you and I hope I get to meet you in person at AGW 2025 because I will be there. So
Yeah.
it's
You gonna
gonna be
compete?
good. What's that? No.
You competing? Okay.
No. After I won in 23, I stopped competing. Last year I was a judge And I'm hoping to be asked back again this year to be a judge. I haven't gotten asked yet, so I'm hoping to be asked back as a judge. But I judged last year. But yeah, in 23, I was able to win it after 4 years of trying, and that was enough. That was enough for me. Like I work closely with double champion in a second place, Mackenzie Kerbo. He went champ second, and we talk about it a good bit. You know, it's one of those back and forth things, and he's an amazing person, and I'm glad I'm very fortunate to get to work with him. But yeah, it was just enough. I poured so much of myself into it, and it was, regardless of what happened in 23, whether I won or not, it was my last year competing. So I'm very fortunate that I was able to put it together to win in 23.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I was good on one day during that competition. You see what I mean? Like just everything came together during that time, and it was great. You know, I possess the same skills as most of the master certified techs in our industry, and some that aren't master certified. I have the exact same skill set they do. I just was able to display it on that day and was fortunate enough to score the most points.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I look forward to seeing you in 2025. This has been a great conversation. I can't wait for this to come out. It'll be a couple weeks. I'm banking some up because I got to travel to California, but I can't wait for this to come out, man. And thank you so